What if the secret to achieving your biggest goals isn't motivation, but discipline? Discipline beats motivation, and in today's fast-paced world, success isn't about waiting for inspiration. It's about taking consistent, intentional action. In this Master Self-Discipline, Daniel Walter book summary, audiobook, summarized by detailed book summaries, you'll discover how developing mental toughness and self-control can transform every aspect of your life. From breaking through procrastination to creating habits that stick, this summary reveals the powerful techniques that help you stay focused and on track, no matter how you feel. Ready to stop relying on motivation and start mastering your goals? This is your blueprint to lasting change and unstoppable success. Chapter 1: The Painful Truth About Success. Most people think they fail because they're lazy, but Daniel Walter opens his book by flipping that idea on its head. The truth is, they're not lazy. They're just undisciplined. And that one truth hits like a slap to the face. In a world obsessed with motivational quotes and hype videos, we've been sold a lie that you need to feel inspired to get things done. But according to Walter, motivation is a scam. It shows up when it wants, it disappears when it pleases, and it cannot be trusted with your goals. Discipline, however, that's your secret weapon. Discipline is what separates the daydreamers from the doers. It's what turns a vision board into real results. Motivation will get you excited about running a marathon. Discipline is what gets you out of bed at 5 a.m. in the rain to actually train for it. That's the difference. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is a system. And here's where Walter drops the hammer. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Think about that for a second. All the dreams, all the ambition, all the desire, it doesn't matter if you don't have the discipline to back it up. And that's why this book isn't here to hype you up. It's here to make you sharp. Walter doesn't romanticize discipline. In fact, he leans into the fact that it's boring. It's repetitive. It's not sexy, but it works. Because when you show up every day and do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not, you become unstoppable. You build trust with yourself, and that trust becomes momentum. He also talks about how we've misunderstood freedom. Most people think freedom is doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But true freedom, real, lasting freedom, comes from discipline. When you're disciplined, you control your time, your actions, your outcomes. You're not at the mercy of impulses or distractions. You're not constantly pulled in 1,000 directions. You know where you're going, and you stay on course. That's freedom. Walter dives into the brain science, too. He explains how discipline is connected to the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-control. Every time you resist a temptation, every time you say no to comfort, you're literally training your brain to get stronger. It's like lifting mental weights. And just like going to the gym, it's hard at first, but with time and repetition, it becomes second nature. And the biggest takeaway? Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's not a genetic gift. It's a habit, a practice, and anyone can build it, including you. That's the entire premise of this book. You don't need to wait for inspiration. You don't need to be naturally driven. You just need to show up, put in the reps, and keep your word to yourself. So the question becomes, are you ready to stop chasing motivation and start building real, lasting discipline? Are you ready to do the work, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when no one's clapping for you? Because that's where transformation happens. Not in the hype, but in the consistency. And it all starts right here. Chapter 2: The Lies We Tell Ourselves and Why They Kill Discipline. You think the biggest problem is distractions, or maybe laziness, or lack of motivation. But Daniel Walter makes it crystal clear in Chapter 2. The real enemy is a subtle, sneaky voice in your head feeding you polished lies. Not malicious lies, not even obvious ones. Just soft, comforting, believable distortions that sabotage your discipline. These are the lies we tell ourselves, and they're deadly because they sound like logic. They sound like self-care. But what they actually do is protect your comfort zone while killing your progress. It starts with the lie of, "I'll start tomorrow." That's the king of all self-sabotage phrases. You convince yourself that your future self, some superhero version of you, will suddenly have more willpower, more energy, and more time. But here's the punchline. Tomorrow never shows up. It just keeps moving one step ahead, like a mirage. Every time you say, not today, you're postponing your goals and giving your current mood more power than your long-term vision. Then comes a second lie. Just this once. Walter hammers this point home. This phrase is a trap, whether it's skipping a workout, breaking a promise to yourself, or giving in to temptation. Just this once always comes with hidden interest because it never is just once. It becomes twice, then 5 times, then a habit, and the brain starts normalizing it. The standards you once had, they lower. The expectations you held, they fade. Just this once becomes the beginning of a slow decline, a subtle surrender to comfort over commitment. Another lie, I don't feel like it. Now, here's the brutal truth Walter delivers. Nobody cares. Your goals don't care. Your future doesn't care. Your results especially don't care. Discipline is built on doing the thing regardless of whether you're in the mood. If you only act when you feel like it, you'll live your life as a prisoner of your emotions. Walter puts it bluntly. Discipline isn't about inspiration. It's about action. You act your way into discipline, not feel your way into it. And then there's the sneakiest lie of all. I deserve a break. Sounds reasonable, right? But Walter's not buying it. Yes, rest is important. But rest is not the same as escape. Discipline means knowing the difference between strategic recovery and self-sabotage disguised as reward. If you haven't earned a break, it's not a reward, it's avoidance. And avoidance kills momentum. This chapter isn't about shame. It's about awareness. Walter's message is clear. Once you see the lies, you can stop believing them. You take your power back. You stop giving excuses a seat at the table. Instead, you start leading with truth, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because the truth, it's not sexy. It won't go viral. It won't make your dopamine spike. But it works. The truth is, your feelings are fleeting, but your habits are forever. The truth is, every excuse has a cost. The truth is, no one's coming to save you. Your life is your responsibility. And if you want to build a life of discipline, it starts with shutting down the lies and showing up anyway. So next time your brain says, just this once, or I'll do it later, or I don't feel like it, pause. Ask yourself, is this truth, or is it just a dressed-up excuse? That one question can change everything. Chapter 3, Mental Toughness, the silent superpower behind every goal. Discipline alone is powerful, but without mental toughness, it cracks under pressure. That's the focus of Chapter 3. Daniel Walter isn't just talking about white-knuckling your way through hard days. He's talking about becoming someone who doesn't fold the moment things get uncomfortable. Mental toughness is the engine that drives discipline when everything around you screams, quit. Walter kicks this chapter off with a truth most people avoid. Life isn't fair and it never will be. The sooner you accept that, the faster you grow. The tough don't whine about fairness. They don't get paralyzed by circumstances. They adapt, they endure, they act, regardless of conditions. That's mental toughness. And it's not something you're born with. It's built. Like muscle, it grows with stress, pain, and resistance. One of the first building blocks? Emotional control. Mental toughness isn't about feeling nothing. It's about not letting feelings dictate your actions. When you're tired, you keep going. When you're frustrated, you respond strategically, not reactively. Walter makes it clear. Your ability to delay gratification, resist temptation, and stay on course when everything feels wrong, that's what separates winners from everyone else. Another key pillar, resilience. Walter tells us to stop seeing failure as a final verdict. Mentally tough people treat failure like data, not drama. Every setback is feedback. Every rejection is redirection. They don't take it personally. They take it constructively. And that shift? It's a game changer. Because when you stop fearing failure, you stop avoiding growth. Then he drops a truth bomb. Mental toughness means doing the work when it's no longer exciting. The hype fades. The motivation dips. The New Year's resolution buzz wears off. and all you're left with is repetition. Boredom. Grind. Most people tap out here. But the mentally tough? They show up anyway. They keep their eyes locked on the long game while everyone else quits for short-term comfort. Walter also highlights something crucial. Mentally tough people manage their self-talk like a hawk. They don't let the inner critic run the show. Instead, they reframe. When things go wrong, they don't say, "I can't do this." They say, "This is hard, but I've handled worse." That subtle shift isn't fluff. It's fuel. It keeps the fire alive when willpower wanes. And then there's identity. The toughest people don't try to be disciplined. They are disciplined. They don't hope to push through. They expect to. It's not ego. It's clarity. Mental toughness is rooted in self-image. You stop asking, "Can I do this?" and start affirming, "This is who I am." Daniel Walter ends this chapter with a challenge. Don't just work on what you do. Work on who you're becoming. Because mental toughness isn't about pushing harder. It's about building deeper. The strongest people aren't loud. They're steady, quiet, relentless. They walk through storms with calm minds and clear focus. And when life gets brutal, they don't break. They rise. The real question isn't whether you're capable. It's whether you're willing to toughen up and take ownership of your story, no matter how rough the chapters get. Chapter 4. The Myth of Motivation. Why waiting to feel ready will kill your goals. In Chapter 4, The Power of Discipline, Daniel Walter drops a hard truth. Motivation is wildly overrated. It's unreliable, emotional, and often absent when you need it most. Waiting for it? That's the fast track to procrastination and regret. Walter starts by dismantling the fantasy many people cling to, the idea that one day you'll wake up energized, inspired, and magically ready to crush your goals. Spoiler alert, that day rarely comes. And when it does, it doesn't last. That's because motivation is a state, not a strategy. It fades. It fluctuates. And if your success depends on it, you're in trouble. Here's what mentally strong people understand. Action comes first. Motivation comes later. Most people get it backward. They wait to feel like doing the work. The disciplined, they do the work, and then the feeling follows. It's not sexy. It's not glamorous. But it's the truth. Walter compares motivation to weather, unpredictable and out of your control. Discipline, on the other hand, is like a thermostat. It sets the temperature. It's consistent. And it works whether you're in the mood or not. And that's the key message here. Your goals don't care how you feel. They care what you do. Showing up tired, uninspired, or frustrated still counts. In fact, it counts more. Because anyone can act when it's easy. Discipline kicks in when it's not. Walter shares a concept that hits hard. The motivational trap. It's the idea that you need to read one more book, watch one more video, or attend one more seminar before you start. But starting isn't about feeling prepared. It's about choosing to begin, even when you're scared, uncertain, or completely unmotivated. There's also a massive shift in mindset here. Walter urges us to stop asking, "How can I stay motivated?" and start asking, "How can I stay consistent?" That question changes everything. It leads to habits, not hype, systems, not emotions. And those are the things that actually move the needle. He also gets into the science, how your brain builds new habits through repetition, not intention. You don't need motivation to brush your teeth. Why? Because it's automatic. And you can build that same automation with anything: workouts, reading, studying, saving money. If you stop waiting to feel like it and start doing it anyway. Walter offers a brutal but freeing perspective. You don't have to like it. You just have to do it. You're allowed to be bored, tired, annoyed. None of those feelings disqualify you from taking action. In fact, acting despite them makes you stronger. He ends the chapter with a punch. Discipline is what you do when motivation is dead. And if you want to build anything that lasts, a business, a healthy body, a strong mind, you're going to have to bury motivation and work anyway. So the next time your brain says, "I don't feel like it," reply with, "That's irrelevant." Then show up. Chapter 5. The pain of discipline versus the pain of regret. Choose your struggle. In Chapter 5 of The Power of Discipline, Daniel Walter delivers a message that's both uncomfortable and liberating. Life is going to hurt. You just get to choose how. You either suffer the short-term sting of self-control or the long, drawn-out agony of regret. Let that sink in. The pain of discipline is sharp but clean. It shows up when you wake up early to hit the gym, when you say no to instant gratification, when you grind through work you'd rather avoid. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it's purposeful. It builds something. It moves you closer to who you want to become. Now compare that to the pain of regret. That pain lingers. It festers. It hits you in quiet moments when you realize time's passed, opportunities slipped, and the only thing standing in your way was you. You didn't act. You didn't persist. You let comfort win. And that kind of pain, it doesn't go away easily. Walter doesn't sugarcoat it. Comfort is addictive and it's killing your potential. Every time you skip the workout, delay the project, or binge instead of build, you're choosing temporary ease over long-term growth. And that decision has a cost. You just don't see the bill until later. This chapter urges us to shift how we view pain entirely. Pain isn't the enemy. It's the price of entry. Want a great body? You'll pay with sweat. Want a thriving business? You'll pay with time, effort, and focus. Want deep relationships? You'll pay with vulnerability and presence. But here's the thing. The price of regret is higher. Always. Walter introduces what he calls the mirror test. Imagine looking at yourself 10 years from now, not in the mirror, but in your mind. What do you see? Someone who paid the price, showed up, and is now reaping the rewards? Or someone who played it safe and is now wondering what could have been? That future version of you is being built right now by the choices you make today. Every small decision, every act of discipline, every refusal to quit, it all adds up, and so does every excuse. This is where the chapter hits hardest. You will suffer either way. One road leads to strength. The other leads to shame. So, which pain are you going to choose? Walter doesn't leave us hanging, though. He provides a simple mental reframe. Every time you face resistance, remind yourself, this pain has a purpose. That makes the discomfort easier to carry. You're not just suffering, you're sculpting a better version of yourself. He closes with this quote-worthy gem. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. So when it's hard, and it will be, remember that you're not avoiding pain by slacking off. You're just deferring it. Trading today's sweat for tomorrow's sorrow. Choose wisely. Chapter 6 of The Power of Discipline zooms in on one of the most underrated, but utterly life-changing skills. Delayed gratification. Daniel Walter doesn't just explain it. He weaponizes it. Let's get real. We're wired for now. Fast food, next day delivery. Swipe right relationships. Everything in modern life trains us to expect results instantly. But here's the uncomfortable truth. What comes fast usually fades fast. And what lasts? That comes slowly, through the grind, through discipline, through mastering the art of not getting what you want right away. Walter kicks this chapter off with the famous Stanford marshmallow experiment, where kids were offered one marshmallow now or two if they could wait 15 minutes. The results? The kids who waited didn't just get more sugar, they ended up scoring higher in life. Better grades, better jobs, better self-control. Decades later, the marshmallow test turned out to be a powerful predictor of future success. So why is delaying gratification so powerful? Because it rewires your brain to resist impulses. And when you can master your impulses, you become dangerous in the best way. Walter breaks it down into two mental forces: emotion versus logic. Emotion says, eat the cookie. Logic says, stick to your meal plan. Emotion says, skip the gym. Logic says, you got goals. Most people live by emotion. High achievers train their logic to lead. And the difference? It's not willpower. It's strategy. This is where Walter shines. He doesn't just say resist temptation. He gives you the tools. One key tool? Time your temptations. You want to binge Netflix? Fine, but only after you've done your deep work. You want the ice cream? Cool, but earn it. Delay doesn't mean deny. It means control. It means you're the one choosing, not your cravings. Another strategy? Change your environment. Willpower is weak when your surroundings are working against you. Walter says to stop trusting yourself in the face of temptation. Just remove it. Don't buy junk food and expect to eat clean. Don't scroll TikTok and expect to focus. Self-discipline starts with setting yourself up to win. Then he drops a heavy truth. Your future depends on how often you say, not yet. Not no, just not yet. That pause, that moment of resistance, it's the difference between average and elite. He also reminds us that everything good compounds. Fitness, wealth, knowledge, all of it. But the compound effect only kicks in if you give it time. Delay now, double later. That's how the game works. The best part? The more you delay, the stronger your self-control gets. It's like a muscle, and each time you flex it, it grows. Before you know it, what used to tempt you becomes irrelevant. You're operating on a whole new level. Walter wraps the chapter with this powerful mantra. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you're willing to wait for consistently. If you can wait, you can win. That's the message. And in a world full of people chasing fast results and cheap dopamine, the one who can wait becomes unstoppable. Chapter 7, Mental Toughness, Your Edge in a Soft World. If self-discipline is a foundation, then mental toughness is the armor. In Chapter 7 of The Power of Discipline, Daniel Walter takes us into the battlefield of the mind, and he's not pulling punches. He starts with a brutal truth. Life is hard. Challenges, failures, rejections, losses, they're all coming whether you're ready or not. The difference between those who crumble and those who climb is mental toughness. Not talent, not luck, not intelligence. Just the ability to keep moving when most people would quit. Walter makes one thing clear. Mental toughness isn't about being emotionless or cold. It's about resilience. It's feeling fear, doubt, pain, and choosing to act anyway. It's falling down 7 times and standing up 8. And you don't need to be born with it. You can build it, day by day, choice by choice. So how do you build this gritty, unbreakable mindset? Walter lays out a few key principles. Do hard things on purpose. Mental toughness doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in the hard, the uncomfortable, the inconvenient. Cold showers, tough workouts, difficult conversations. Every time you choose discomfort over ease, you toughen up, you send a signal to your brain. I do difficult things. I don't run. I rise. Train your self-talk. Most people lose the battle in their own heads before they ever face a real challenge. Walter insists that your inner voice is either your worst enemy or your most loyal ally. You have to train it. When your mind says, you can't do this, you don't debate. You respond, watch me. The words you say to yourself in private shape what you become in public. Focus on controllables. Life throws chaos your way. But Walter says mental toughness comes from narrowing your focus. You don't need to control the storm. You just need to steer your own ship. Show up. Do the work. Rest. Repeat. Focus on the inputs, not the outcomes. Expect pain, then use it. Pain is part of the game. You can't avoid it, but you can use it. Walter compares it to lifting weights. The muscle breaks to rebuild stronger. Mental pain works the same way. Instead of avoiding it, lean in, learn from it, let it make you better. One of the boldest takeaways in this chapter? Emotion is not the driver. It's a passenger. You can acknowledge fear, stress, and fatigue, but you don't let them take the wheel. You act based on principles, not feelings. Walter also debunks the myth that mentally tough people never feel weak. They do. They just don't let weakness stop them. They show up on the bad days. They work when they're tired. They fight when it's not fair. That's toughness. He wraps the chapter with a powerful challenge. If you want to be unstoppable, stop negotiating with your excuses. Read that again. That's the core of mental toughness. You don't bargain with comfort. You don't wait until you feel like it. You show up because you said you would. That's it. So ask yourself, where are you soft? Where are you still choosing comfort over growth? This chapter is your call to sharpen your edge. Because in a soft world, the tough rise fast. Chapter 8, The Compound Effect of Discipline. Small wins, big change. Daniel Walter saves a heavy hitter for Chapter 8, The Compound Effect. If mental toughness is the armor and discipline is the foundation, this chapter explains how those tools create lasting, massive results. And spoiler alert, it's not about dramatic overnight transformations. It's about doing the boring, right thing over and over again until the world can't ignore you. Walter breaks it down simply. Small actions, repeated consistently, create exponential change over time. That's the secret. It's not sexy. It's not flashy. But it works. And it works every single time. Want a better body? It's not one perfect workout. It's showing up at the gym 100 times, even when you're tired. Want a successful business? It's not one viral idea. It's dozens of late nights, calls failures, tweaks, and silent wins. Want stronger discipline? It's not one burst of willpower. It's brushing your teeth when you don't feel like it. It's reading 10 pages. It's saying no to dessert again. The mistake most people make? They quit too early. They do the right thing for 3 days, don't see results, and go back to bad habits. Walter calls this the discipline death zone, that quiet middle space where effort hasn't paid off yet. It's uncomfortable, it's thankless, and it's where most people lose. But the disciplined, they stay in the zone. They understand that every tiny win stacks. Every ignored temptation sharpens resolve. Every early morning, every focused hour, every decision to stay in control, it builds. It compounds. And then one day, boom, the shift happens. Not because of one dramatic action, but because of hundreds of small wins that rewired your identity. That's the real magic of the compound effect. It doesn't just change your results, it changes you. You stop being someone who's trying to be disciplined. You become someone who is disciplined. It becomes your new normal. Walter also warns about the reverse, the negative compound effect, because it works both ways. Skip the gym once? No big deal. Skip it 5 times? You're out of rhythm. Eat one donut? Fine. Eat one every day? New habit. The same force that builds greatness can destroy it, depending on what you feed it. So how do you stay on the right path? Walter gives a clear answer. Track your habits. Measure your progress. Celebrate small wins. Don't wait for the big explosion. Notice the daily spark, because those sparks, over time, become fire. And that's the point. Discipline isn't about epic motivation. It's about building a system that works when your feelings don't. It's about choosing the action that future you will thank you for, even if present you is groaning. This chapter doesn't hype you up. It grounds you. It reminds you that the path to success is paved with a million boring, right choices. But if you can commit to them, if you can embrace the grind, the results will look like magic to everyone else. But you'll know, it wasn't magic. It was discipline, repeated, compounded, mastered. Chapter 9, Overcoming Resistance, Breaking Through Mental Barriers. In Chapter 9, Daniel Walter focuses on one of the most insidious enemies of discipline, resistance. This isn't the kind of resistance that you can fight with force or strategy alone. It's a sneaky, invisible force that pulls you away from what you know you need to do and pushes you toward distractions, procrastination, and self-doubt. Resistance shows up in many forms. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's self-sabotage, but always it's the feeling of wanting to give up, avoid discomfort, or escape responsibility. It whispers in your ear, saying, "You can't do this." It tells you that you're not good enough or it's too late to start. It makes you think the task at hand is too difficult, too tedious, or too far from your current comfort zone. Walter explains that resistance is the greatest threat to maintaining discipline because it strikes at your core beliefs about who you are and what you're capable of. The longer you let resistance control your actions, the more it can undermine your sense of identity and prevent you from moving forward. But there's good news. You can beat resistance. The trick is in recognizing it for what it is and refusing to give in. Walter offers several strategies for overcoming this internal roadblock. First, he highlights the importance of starting small. When you're facing a huge challenge or project, it can feel overwhelming. Resistance is often strongest when you're thinking about the entire task, the big picture. But by focusing on the smallest next step, something simple and achievable, You can lower the barrier and avoid feeling paralyzed. Another strategy Walter emphasizes is showing up no matter what. He says that discipline isn't about motivation, it's about habit. And habits aren't influenced by how you feel in the moment, they're based on consistency. So when resistance rears its ugly head, simply commit to showing up and doing something, no matter how small. The act of showing up consistently teaches your brain that resistance has no power over you. Walter also talks about the power of scheduling. Putting your goals and tasks into your calendar isn't just a matter of organizing your time. It's about making your intentions concrete and giving them a place to exist. When you've scheduled time for your goals, it's harder for resistance to convince you to do something else. It's like having an appointment with your future success, and you can't just skip it. In addition to these practical strategies, Walter touches on mental conditioning as a way to fortify yourself against resistance. He explains that just as you work out your muscles to make them stronger, you can train your mind to withstand discomfort. The more you practice self-control in the face of resistance, the easier it becomes. It's about building mental toughness so that when resistance shows up, you don't flinch. You keep moving forward. One of the most profound insights Walter shares in this chapter is the idea that resistance never fully goes away. As you continue to develop discipline and mental toughness, resistance will still appear, but it will become weaker, and your ability to fight it will become stronger. It's an ongoing battle, but one that gets easier the more you win. Walter sums up this chapter with a simple but powerful message. The more you resist resistance, the more power you gain over your own life. If you can face resistance head-on, without fear or hesitation, you'll find that the things that once seemed impossible become easier. It's not about eliminating resistance, but about learning how to work with it, and ultimately, using it as fuel for your success. As you move on to the next chapter, remember, resistance is normal. It's part of the process, but you have the tools to break through it. You can and will push past those barriers to achieve your goals. Chapter 10, Building Momentum, Turning Small Wins into Big Results. In Chapter 10, Daniel Walter explores one of the most powerful tools for achieving lasting discipline: momentum. This chapter builds on the earlier insight from the book, showing you how to turn small victories into significant, sustainable progress. The core idea is simple. If you can build momentum, you'll find that your discipline becomes almost automatic as each success compounds and carries you forward. Walter starts by emphasizing how momentum is a result of action. The more you do, the more you can do. This concept of small wins leading to big results is central to building lasting success. Often, people fall into the trap of thinking that major goals need to be tackled all at once. But Walter's approach is different. It's about consistent, small actions that accumulate over time. He uses the analogy of a snowball rolling down a hill. Initially, it starts small, but as it picks up speed and mass, it grows into something much larger and more powerful. This is what happens when you build momentum in your life. The more you focus on small tasks, habits, and actions, the greater the momentum becomes. The work you do today builds on the work you did yesterday, and before long, you'll see huge results from what once seemed like minor efforts. Walter also points out that momentum feeds on itself. When you make progress, no matter how small, it provides you with the confidence and drive to keep going. Think about it. Have you ever had a day where you completed one task, and then it led to the next and the next, until you look back and realize you'd accomplished a lot? That's momentum in action. To make this concept even more relatable, Walter discusses how small wins aren't just about reaching the goal, but about creating positive feedback loops. The brain reacts to small successes with a sense of accomplishment, boosting motivation and self-esteem. It's like building a stack of small victories that you can build on over time. Each win, no matter how small, reinforces a belief that you can succeed, and that belief is the fuel for the next win. Walter stresses that momentum doesn't come easily, especially at the start. It takes effort, consistency, and patience to build that initial momentum. But once it's established, it becomes much easier to maintain. In fact, Walter says that the hardest part isn't the big goals or the ultimate achievements. It's getting started and keeping going. The key is to start, no matter how small, and keep taking that next step forward. Over time, this forward motion compounds and leads to greater and greater success. An essential aspect of building momentum is focusing on the process, not the outcome. Many people make the mistake of obsessing over the end result, which can lead to frustration and burnout. But when you focus on the daily actions that contribute to your goal, the outcome becomes a byproduct of your effort, not the end-all be-all. It's like planting seeds without constantly checking for harvest. You focus on nourishing the soil, and in time, the results show up. Walter also highlights the importance of momentum in creating a disciplined mindset. Once you start gaining small wins, your mindset shifts. Discipline isn't something you have to fight for. It becomes part of who you are. You start viewing discipline as the natural consequence of taking action and seeing results. As you continue to build momentum, the process becomes less about willpower and more about habit. You no longer have to force yourself to do the right thing. It becomes second nature. Lastly, Walter discusses how external motivation can help, but is not enough to sustain long-term momentum. While it's nice to have support, rewards, or recognition, true discipline comes from within. The real key to keeping momentum going is relying on your own internal motivation. When external factors fade away, it's your internal drive that will keep you moving forward. Walter sums up the chapter by saying, "Momentum is the secret to turning your small daily efforts into extraordinary achievements." When you focus on creating and maintaining momentum, you transform the process of achieving goals from something daunting into something manageable and even enjoyable. As you finish this chapter, ask yourself, how can I create momentum in my life? What small actions can I take today that will build toward bigger results? Momentum is a magic trick. It's a strategy that works when you commit to consistent, focused effort. If you can build momentum, you'll have the discipline to achieve anything you set your mind to. In Chapter 11, Daniel Walter shifts gears to focus on one of the most overlooked yet essential components of self-discipline, self-talk. He argues that the way we talk to ourselves shapes our behaviors, attitudes, and overall success, and that mastering our internal dialogue is a key to mastering our discipline. Walter starts by acknowledging that we all have a constant stream of thoughts running through our minds, whether we're conscious of them or not. These thoughts can be positive, encouraging, and empowering, or they can be negative, self-defeating, and paralyzing. And it's the latter that often holds us back from achieving our goals. But the power of self-talk is that we can control it. In fact, Walter makes it clear that you have the ability to change the narrative in your head and shift it from one of self-doubt to one of motivation and determination. He introduces a concept of the inner voice, that part of your mind that constantly comments on your actions, plans, and decisions. For some, this inner voice is supportive, helping them stay focused and motivated. For others, the voice is critical, doubting their abilities and making them question whether they are capable of success. Walter emphasizes that discipline begins with controlling that inner voice. If you allow your inner dialogue to be dominated by negative self-talk, it's like setting up a roadblock on the path to your goals. To break this down further, Walter shares some of the most common negative self-talk patterns that people engage in. For instance, phrases like, "I can't do this," "I'm not good enough," or "I always fail" are frequent visitors in the minds of many people. These thoughts erode self-confidence and create a mental environment that's not conducive to success. Walter explains that the first step to mastering self-talk is recognizing these harmful thoughts when they arise. Awareness is the key. Once you identify a negative thought, you can challenge it and replace it with something more empowering. Walter also discusses how language shapes reality. The words we choose to describe ourselves and our situations have a profound impact on how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. For example, if you say to yourself, "I'm terrible at time management," then you are reinforcing the idea that you are incapable of being disciplined. On the other hand, if you say, "I'm working on improving my time management skills," you're framing the situation as a learning opportunity, which is a much more empowering perspective. Walter emphasizes that the more you speak in terms of growth and possibility, the more likely you are to make positive progress. He introduces a powerful technique called cognitive reframing, which involves consciously shifting your thoughts from negative to positive. For example, if you find yourself thinking, "This is too hard," reframe it to, "This may be difficult, but I am capable of handling it." If you're thinking, I'm too tired to finish this task. Reframe it to, I can push through this because I've done it before. By reframing your thoughts in this way, you take control of your mindset and create a positive feedback loop that strengthens your discipline. Walter also delves into the idea of affirmations, the practice of repeating positive statements to reinforce a desired outcome. He argues that affirmations can be a powerful tool for reinforcing your self-discipline, but only if they're specific, believable, and aligned with your goals. For instance, instead of simply saying, I am disciplined, Walter suggests framing in a way that feels more authentic, like, I take consistent action toward my goals every day. This makes the affirmation more grounded in reality and helps you internalize the belief that you can indeed be disciplined and focused. But here's the thing, affirmations alone aren't enough. Walter stresses that they must be backed by action. You can tell yourself all day that you're disciplined, but if you don't back it up with consistent behavior, those words will remain empty. In other words, your self-talk must align with your actions. Discipline isn't just about thinking positively. It's about pairing those thoughts with real, tangible effort toward your goals. Walter then emphasizes the importance of self-compassion in the process of mastering self-talk. It's easy to be critical of ourselves when we slip up, but beating ourselves up only contributes to the cycle of negative thinking. Instead, Walter encourages a more balanced approach. When you make mistakes, acknowledge them, learn from them, and then move on. Self-compassion helps maintain your momentum and keeps you focused on your long-term goals rather than dwelling on temporary setbacks. He shares a key insight. The goal is not perfection. It's not about never making mistakes. It's about how you respond to those mistakes. When you can treat yourself with kindness and understanding, you're better equipped to stay on track and keep pushing forward. Walter wraps up the chapter by challenging readers to be mindful of their self-talk throughout the day. Start by paying attention to the words you use when you think about yourself, your abilities, and your goals. Are you encouraging yourself, or are you putting yourself down? Walter encourages readers to take one step at a time and practice changing their inner dialogue, recognizing that small shifts in your thinking can lead to significant changes in your behavior and your overall discipline. He concludes by stating, mastering your self-talk is one of the most powerful tools you have to unlock your full potential. The words you speak to yourself can either empower or limit you. Choose wisely. This chapter reinforces the importance of being mindful of what you say to yourself and recognizing the profound effect it has on your ability to develop and maintain discipline. By controlling your inner dialogue, you're in a better position to make the disciplined choices necessary for achieving your goals. Chapter 12. Embracing Consistency, the Secret Ingredient to Success. In Chapter 12, Daniel Walter tackles one of the core principles of achieving self-discipline and long-term success: consistency. He starts by emphasizing that discipline is not about having occasional bursts of motivation. It's about showing up day after day, regardless of how you feel. Motivation is fleeting, but consistent effort is what separates those who reach their goals from those who fall short. Walter begins by defining consistency as the habit of doing things regularly and reliably, even when initial excitement wears off. He compares it to a muscle that needs regular exercise to stay strong. Without consistency, your discipline can't grow. Imagine setting a goal to run 5 miles every day, but only doing it once a week. That's not consistency. Real discipline is doing it every single day, rain or shine, tired or energized, ready or not. Walter then introduces a concept of compound growth, a principle that success is not achieved through a single monumental effort, but rather through the steady accumulation of small actions over time. He gives the example of investing. If you put aside a small amount of money every day, it compounds over time and grows significantly. The same principle applies to discipline. Small, consistent efforts, when repeated over time, lead to massive growth in your personal and professional life. Success is a product of countless small actions that add up to something much bigger than any individual task. He makes an important point here. Consistency doesn't require perfection. You don't need to be perfect at what you do. What matters is that you keep going. Walter emphasizes that this is where many people get it wrong. They think they need to be flawless in their execution, so they give up when things aren't perfect. Instead, it's about making steady progress, not being perfect. Perfectionism can be a trap, and often it's the reason why people quit or don't even start. So, if you're trying to learn a new habit or skill, don't be discouraged by setbacks or failures. Embrace them, learn from them, and keep moving forward. This is how real growth happens. Walter also dives into the relationship between commitment and consistency. He argues that commitment is the fuel for consistency. When you are committed to a goal, you will find ways to show up even when you don't feel like it. This commitment doesn't need to be dramatic. It can be simple, but it needs to be genuine. Walter suggests that the key to staying consistent is to make a small, firm commitment that you can actually stick to. This could be committing to write for 15 minutes every morning, work out for 30 minutes 3 times a week, or simply dedicating 1 hour a day to your most important project. One strategy Walter recommends for maintaining consistency is creating rituals and routines. When you build your day around structure habits, consistency becomes easier. For instance, if you make a ritual to meditate every morning before checking your phone, you'll be more likely to stick with it. Similarly, if you carve out time in your schedule to exercise or work on a passion project, you're creating the conditions for consistency. Walter says that routines allow you to remove decision-making fatigue. Instead of thinking, should I work out today? You've already decided it's part of your routine, and that decision is already made for you. Walter warns against the misconception that consistency requires a rigid, one-size-fits-all approach. Instead, he encourages a flexible consistency. This means understanding that life can get in the way and things won't always go as planned. But instead of quitting, you adapt. If you miss a workout, for example, don't throw in a towel. Find another time in the day to make up for it or adjust your routine. Flexibility is key to maintaining consistency without creating stress or guilt. One of the most powerful concepts in this chapter is the idea of tracking progress. Walter explains that when you track your progress, you can visually see the momentum you're building. This keeps you motivated and reminds you the value of small actions over time. It can be as simple as checking off a box each day you stick to your goal or keeping a journal of your achievements. This sense of accomplishment helps you see the fruits of your consistent efforts and encourages you to keep going. Walter shares a technique called the Seinfeld strategy, named after comedian Jerry Seinfeld. This is a simple but effective technique for building habits. Seinfeld's method was to mark an X on a calendar every day he wrote new material. Eventually, he had a long string of X's, and the goal became not to break the chain. This strategy is great for building consistency because it taps into our psychology of avoiding streaks. The idea is to create a visual reminder of how far you've come and to keep the streak going. Walter also emphasizes patience. Consistency isn't about expecting immediate results. It's about understanding that the true payoff will come with time. Patience in this context is trusting that your consistent actions will lead to growth, even if you don't see immediate rewards. The journey to success is often slow, but it's the steady accumulation of efforts that gets you where you want to go. Patience is the key to sticking with the process long enough to see the results. He wraps up the chapter with a final reminder. Don't get discouraged if results are slow. Keep going, keep showing up, and stay committed. Over time, consistency will make the impossible seem possible. In this chapter, Walter has armed us with the knowledge that discipline and success are not about big, dramatic actions. They are about small, consistent steps. When you commit to showing up every day, no matter how small the task, you'll eventually build the momentum you need to succeed. Consistency is the true secret ingredient to achieving your long-term goals. As Walter reminds us, success is not a sprint, but a marathon, and only consistency can get you to the finish line. Now, let's move forward and apply these principles in the next chapter. Chapter 13, The Power of Mental Toughness, Unlocking Your Inner Strength. You've heard it before, mind over matter. You can do anything you set your mind to. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. These are all well-worn cliches, but the truth behind them holds more weight than you might realize. Mental toughness isn't just about staying calm in a storm or gritting your teeth through tough times. It's about developing an inner strength that allows you to rise to the occasion, no matter the obstacles in your path. In this chapter, Daniel Walter reveals how to harness this mental toughness as an essential pillar of self-discipline. It's the bridge between intentions and results. Mental toughness is what allows you to do the things you need to do, even when you don't feel like doing them. It's the fuel that powers your daily grind, the energy that pushes you to keep going when your body and mind are screaming, "Give up." Walter defines mental toughness as the ability to push through challenges, stay focused on your goals, and maintain your commitment even when the going gets tough. It's about being resilient in the face of adversity. But here's the kicker. Mental toughness doesn't mean you're immune to setbacks or difficulties. It means you choose to push forward despite them. It's about building the fortitude to withstand hardships, disappointments, and even failures without letting them define your path. At the heart of mental toughness is emotional control. Walter explains that we often mistake emotional reaction for the truth. For example, if you face rejection or failure, it's easy to spiral into self-doubt or frustration. But mental toughness demands that you rise above those initial emotions, take a step back, and view the situation objectively. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And how you respond is what shapes your outcome. One of the most powerful tools Walter introduces in this chapter is the concept of self-talk. Mental toughness begins with how you talk to yourself. If your inner dialogue is negative, self-critical, or doubtful, it'll be much harder to push through challenges. But if you replace that inner critic with a voice of encouragement, motivation, and reason, you'll find that your ability to persevere increases exponentially. Walter shares some strategies for changing your self-talk. Instead of telling yourself, "I can't do this," reframe it as, "I'm still learning," or "I'll figure this out." This simple shift can make all the difference. Walter also touches on the power of visualization in building mental toughness. He encourages readers to visualize their goals and imagine themselves overcoming obstacles along the way. Visualization is more than just daydreaming. It's a tool for preparing your mind for success. It primes your brain to recognize opportunities and stay focused on your end goal, even when things aren't going according to plan. This mental rehearsal prepares you for challenges ahead, so when you face them, you're ready. Another key to developing mental toughness is embracing discomfort. Most people avoid discomfort like the plague, but Walter argues that growth only happens when you step out of your comfort zone. If you want to strengthen your mental muscle, you need to learn how to embrace challenges, discomfort, and pain. Think of it like weightlifting. The more weight you lift, the stronger you become. The same goes for your mind. The more you face adversity head-on, the more resilient you become. Walter suggests breaking down big goals into smaller, manageable tasks as a way to build mental toughness gradually. When you tackle huge goals all at once, it's easy to get overwhelmed and discouraged. But when you break those goals into smaller pieces, you make them less intimidating and more achievable. This step-by-step approach also helps you build momentum, which is crucial in developing mental toughness. As you check off smaller tasks, your confidence grows, and you gain the mental fortitude to tackle bigger challenges. Accountability is another factor that plays a crucial role in mental toughness. When you know someone is counting on you, whether it's a mentor, friend, or colleague, you're more likely to push through the difficult times. Accountability gives you the strength to keep going, even when you don't feel like it. Walter encourages readers to find an accountability partner who can help them stay committed, offer encouragement, and hold them responsible for their actions. Another powerful concept in this chapter is resilience, the ability to bounce back from failure. Walter emphasizes that failure is not the end of the road. It's an opportunity to learn and grow. Instead of letting setbacks derail your progress, use them as stepping stones. The most successful people are often the ones who have failed the most, but they didn't let failure define them. They used it to fuel their determination and ultimately achieve success. Resilience is about refusing to give up no matter how many times you fall. As you work on building mental toughness, Walter also advises taking care of your physical health. Mental and physical toughness go hand in hand. When your body is strong, healthy, and energized, it becomes easier to stay mentally tough. Regular exercise, a balanced diet, and sufficient rest are key components of developing mental resilience. When you feel physically strong, you'll have the energy and focus to tackle mental challenges head-on. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. To wrap up the chapter, Walter shares a simple but effective technique for strengthening your mental toughness. Commit to one thing that scares you every day. This can be as simple as speaking up in a meeting, trying something new, or tackling a task that you've been avoiding. By facing your fears every day, you gradually build your mental fortitude and prepare yourself for even greater challenges in the future. In the end, mental toughness is about choosing to persevere no matter the circumstances. It's about training your mind to be resilient, staying positive in the face of adversity, and always moving forward. Even when the path is unclear, Walter's message is clear. Mental toughness is an innate trait you're born with. It's something you can build one step at a time. By applying principles he's laid out, you'll find that you can unlock an inner strength that propels you toward your goals, no matter what obstacles you face. Chapter 14, Building Unshakable Habits, the foundation of long-term success. In Chapter 14, Daniel Walter dives deep into the concept of building unshakable habits, emphasizing that dreams without action are just fantasies. He explains that what separates successful people from those who falter is the ability to establish consistent, actionable habits. It's not about relying on motivation alone. It's about creating systems that work for you. Walter introduces the science behind habit formation, explaining the loop of cue, routine, and reward. Every habit starts with a cue, followed by the routine, and ends with a reward, which reinforces behavior and encourages repetition. But habits aren't built on motivation alone. They require repetition. The more often you repeat behavior, the more automatic it becomes, and over time, it feels like second nature. Walter stresses the importance of small wins, suggesting that trying to overhaul everything at once leads to burnout. Instead, he encourages focusing on small, manageable changes that build momentum. As these small wins accumulate, they eventually lead to larger successes. Consistency, not perfection, is key to habit success, and Walter advises against perfectionism, which often prevents progress. Missing a day isn't failure, it's a minor setback. The goal is progress, not perfection. He also introduces a strategy of habit stacking, which involves pairing a new habit with an existing one, making it easier to stick to the new behavior. This approach leverages the brain's tendency to recognize patterns, increasing the likelihood of success. Walter also highlights the inevitable obstacles that arise when building habits, but insists that resilience is crucial. By anticipating challenges and planning for them, you increase your chances of overcoming them. Tracking your progress is another key strategy Walter discusses, reinforcing your commitment and boosting motivation. He stresses the importance of environment in habit formation, encouraging readers to design an environment that supports their goals, whether that's removing distractions or making desired behaviors easier to perform. Ultimately, Walter underscores that habits are the key to mastering self-discipline without relying on willpower. When good habits are ingrained into your routine, they become automatic, making it easier to achieve long-term success. The foundation of reaching any goal lies in building and refining unshakable habits, and Walter's message is clear. Focus on the process rather than the outcome. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to sustain motivation and maintain momentum when the initial excitement fades. Chapter 15, Overcoming the Setbacks, Turning Failures into Fuel for Success. Failure. It's a word that most people try to avoid, but it's also one of the most powerful learning tools we have. Daniel Walter shifts the focus to one of the most inevitable parts of success: setbacks. No one is immune to failure. The most successful people, the ones who achieve their dreams and goals, are those who have learned how to turn their failures into fuel for their future success. Walter starts by challenging the common misconception that successful people never fail. In reality, they experience setbacks just like anyone else, but they've learned how to respond to them differently. The key to overcoming setbacks is reframing the way you view failure. Instead of seeing it as a roadblock, successful people view it as a stepping stone, a necessary part of the learning process that provides valuable feedback on how to improve. The first step to overcoming setbacks is embracing the reality that failure is part of the journey. Walter reminds us that we often learn more from our failures than we do from our successes. Failure teaches us about our weaknesses, helps us identify areas for growth, and forces us to adapt. Without failure, there's no progress. Think about it. The most famous inventors, athletes, entrepreneurs, and artists didn't reach their level of success by avoiding failure. They reached it by failing, learning from those failures, and trying again with newfound knowledge. Walter encourages readers to reframe failure by changing their mindset. Instead of thinking, I failed, try thinking, I learned something valuable today. This shift in perspective allows you to move past disappointment quickly and refocus on lessons learned, rather than dwelling on the failure itself. Resilience is one of the most crucial traits when it comes to overcoming setbacks. Walter discusses how resilient people don't bounce back from failure. They bounce forward. They use each failure as a lesson that propels them closer to their goal. The more resilient you become, the less impact failure has on your motivation and progress. To build resilience, Walter suggests practicing mental toughness, the ability to stay focused and positive in the face of adversity. He shares a simple but effective exercise. Whenever you face a setback, ask yourself, what can I control right now? This simple question shifts the focus from what went wrong to what can be done moving forward, empowering you to take action instead of feeling helpless. Another crucial step in overcoming setbacks is to rewrite the narrative around failure. Walter encourages you to stop seeing failure as a permanent state and to start seeing it as a temporary event. Your failure doesn't define you. Instead, it's a chapter in the bigger story of your journey. By reframing setbacks as temporary and part of the process, you take away their power over you. You're no longer afraid of failing because you know that failure is just one step toward success. Walter also advocates for taking responsibility for your failures. Ownership of your mistakes doesn't mean beating yourself up. It means learning from them and using them as a foundation for growth. By taking responsibility, you empower yourself to take action and improve. One of the most powerful concepts in this chapter is the idea of turning setbacks into opportunities. Every failure is an opportunity to do something differently, to innovate, to experiment, and to grow. Walter shares real-life examples of successful people who turned their failures into major breakthroughs. The key is to ask yourself, what's the opportunity in this setback? When you start seeing setbacks as opportunities for growth, you approach challenges with a completely different mindset. Take, for example, Thomas Edison's famous quote, I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Edison's perspective is a powerful reminder that failure isn't the end. It's simply part of the process of finding what does work. Each failed attempt brings you one step closer to success because it teaches you something new. Walter goes on to highlight the importance of having a growth mindset when overcoming setbacks. People with a fixed mindset believe that their abilities and intelligence are static, which causes them to fear failure and avoid challenges. On the other hand, those with a growth mindset understand that abilities can be developed through effort and learning. A growth mindset makes it easier to bounce back from failure because it allows you to view challenges as opportunities for growth rather than as signs of inadequacy. To cultivate a growth mindset, Walter suggests focusing on the process, not just the outcome. Instead of asking, did I succeed or fail? Ask yourself, what did I learn today? This approach shifts the focus from perfection to progress, making failure much less intimidating and more manageable. Walter then shares practical strategies for overcoming setbacks and staying motivated when things don't go as planned. One of the most effective methods is to break big goals down into smaller, more manageable tasks. When you're faced with a large challenge, it can feel overwhelming, and setbacks can feel even more discouraging. By breaking your goals into smaller chunks, you can stay focused and celebrate small wins along the way. Each small success will keep you motivated and remind you that you're making progress, even when things get tough. Another helpful strategy is to seek feedback from others. When you experience a setback, getting an outside perspective can provide valuable insights. Whether it's from a mentor, coach, or friend, feedback helps you see the situation from a different angle and gives you fresh ideas on how to approach it. Finally, Walter suggests that you build a support network. Having people around you who believe in you and encourage you during tough times is crucial. This support can help you bounce back faster and prevent you from feeling isolated during difficult moments. The final piece of advice Walter gives is about moving forward after a setback. The key is to take action. Once you process your failure, learn from it, and reframe your mindset, the next step is to take immediate action. The longer you wait, the more likely you are to stay stuck in negative emotions. Action is the antidote to inaction. Even if the next step is small, it's important to keep moving forward, because momentum is a powerful tool for overcoming setbacks. Remember that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the path to success. As Walter concludes, setbacks aren't something to fear or avoid. They're opportunities to learn, grow, and become stronger. The more resilient you become, the more setbacks will fuel your journey toward success. Chapter 16, Cultivating Mental Toughness. Strengthening your inner resolve. The ability to endure challenges, make difficult decisions, and stay steadfast in the face of adversity. This is what defines mental toughness. In Chapter 16, Walter dives deep into the power of mental toughness and how it plays a pivotal role in achieving lasting success. He emphasizes that mental toughness is not something we're born with, but something we can cultivate with practice and deliberate effort. One of the key elements of mental toughness is the ability to stay calm and composed, especially in high-pressure situations. Walter explains that when faced with challenges, most people experience emotional responses that are natural but unproductive: stress, fear, panic, or frustration. However, mentally tough individuals are able to separate their emotions from their actions, allowing them to make clear-headed decisions without being swept away by the storm of their emotions. Walter encourages readers to embrace the discomfort that comes with difficult situations. Mental toughness doesn't mean never feeling fear or doubt. It means feeling those emotions but choosing to act despite them. The goal is not to suppress or ignore emotions, but to acknowledge them and use them as fuel to stay focused on the bigger picture. A key practice for cultivating mental toughness is what Walter calls emotional control. Instead of reacting impulsively to challenges, mentally tough individuals take a step back, breathe, and assess the situation logically. This requires developing a level of self-awareness and discipline to control impulses and stay grounded in your objectives. By practicing emotional control, you not only prevent negative emotions from hindering your progress, but also enhance your decision-making abilities. Walter also discusses the importance of self-talk in developing mental toughness. The way you speak to yourself during moments of struggle can significantly impact your ability to persist. If your inner dialogue is full of self-doubt, criticism, or defeatism, it becomes much harder to stay motivated and move forward. On the other hand, positive and empowering self-talk can bolster your resolve and keep you focused on solutions. One powerful technique Walter suggests is using affirmations, short, positive statements that reinforce your belief in your abilities. For example, you might tell yourself, "I am capable of overcoming this challenge," or "this obstacle is temporary and I have the strength to push through." Repeating these affirmations regularly can rewire your thinking and help you develop a more resilient mindset. But it's not just about mental techniques. Walter also highlights the importance of physical well-being in fostering mental toughness. He explains that regular exercise, healthy eating, and adequate rest are all essential components of a strong mind. The connection between physical and mental health is undeniable. When you take care of your body, your mind operates at a higher level, enabling you to face challenges with more energy, clarity, and focus. Another core component of mental toughness is perseverance. Walter points out that success rarely comes easily or quickly. The road to achieving your goals is often long and filled with obstacles. But the key to success is the ability to keep going, even when things get tough. He emphasizes that perseverance is not just about being stubborn or relentless. It's about maintaining a clear vision of your goals and staying committed to them, even when the journey becomes difficult. Walter encourages readers to develop the habit of pushing through discomfort. When you step outside your comfort zone and embrace challenges, you develop the resilience needed to keep going. Instead of avoiding obstacles, you begin to view them as opportunities for growth, learning, and improvement. Every challenge you face becomes a chance to strengthen your resolve and become more mentally tough. An important strategy Walter introduces is the concept of delayed gratification. Mentally tough individuals understand that success doesn't come overnight, and they are willing to delay immediate rewards in favor of long-term goals. They are patient, disciplined, and able to stay focused on the bigger picture, even when it's tempting to take shortcuts or give in to instant pleasures. Walter also discusses the role of confidence in mental toughness. Confidence is not about being arrogant or overestimating your abilities. It's about having a realistic belief in your capacity to handle challenges and succeed. Mentally tough people trust in their preparation, their skills, and their ability to navigate difficult situations. Confidence gives them the courage to take risks and make bold moves, knowing that even if they face setbacks, they have the tools to overcome them. One of the most powerful aspects of mental toughness is the ability to maintain a positive attitude, even in the face of adversity. Walter explains that a positive mindset doesn't mean ignoring difficulties or pretending that everything is fine. It means maintaining hope and optimism despite challenges. Mentally tough people focus on the possibilities rather than the problems. They don't dwell on what's going wrong, but focus on what they can do to make things better. Walter wraps up the chapter by reminding readers that mental toughness is not a trait that people are born with. It's something that can be developed through consistent effort and practice. By working on your emotional control, self-talk, perseverance, and confidence, you can gradually strengthen your mental resolve and become more capable of handling any challenge that comes your way. In the end, mental toughness is about becoming the kind of person who can face adversity head-on without being knocked off course. It's about building the inner strength to stay focused, stay positive, and stay committed, no matter what life throws at you. The more you cultivate your mental toughness, the more unstoppable you become in pursuit of your goals. By the end of this chapter, you'll have a clear roadmap for building mental toughness. Not just to overcome obstacles, but to thrive in the face of them. It's a skill that will serve you throughout your journey, helping you turn every setback into a stepping stone and every challenge into an opportunity for growth. Chapter 17, Turning Setbacks into Stepping Stones. The Power of Resilience. In Chapter 17, Walter shifts the focus to one of the most essential components of achieving success: resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, failures, and challenges, and it's arguably one of the most important qualities that anyone striving for success must develop. Walter begins by acknowledging that setbacks are inevitable. No matter how disciplined, focused, or mentally tough you are, life will inevitably throw obstacles your way. These setbacks might come in the form of personal struggles, financial difficulties, career roadblocks, or even failures in your personal growth. What matters most is how you respond to them. Walter stresses that resilience is not just about bouncing back. It's about learning, adapting, and growing stronger from adversity. He introduces a concept of post-traumatic growth, which refers to the positive change that comes from the struggle. Instead of seeing setbacks as purely negative events, mentally tough individuals see them as opportunities to develop and evolve. Resilience is an essential skill because setbacks are not always in our control, but how we respond to them is. Walter emphasizes that the most successful individuals are those who face adversity with determination and optimism, rather than letting challenges define them. Resilience means learning from failure and using those lessons to fuel future success. One of the key factors that contribute to resilience is a strong sense of purpose. Walter argues that when you have a clear vision of why you're doing what you're doing, it becomes easier to persevere through difficult times. A strong purpose gives you the strength to keep moving forward, even when things seem impossible. It helps you put setbacks into perspective and reminds you that every challenge is part of a larger journey. Walter emphasizes that purpose acts as an anchor. When you're facing adversity, your sense of purpose gives you direction and helps you avoid getting lost in the sea of frustration or despair. It keeps you grounded and focused on your goals, even when the path is unclear. Without purpose, setbacks can feel meaningless, but with purpose, they become lessons on your way to success. A significant aspect of resilience is the ability to reframe setbacks. Walter talks about the importance of shifting your mindset from seeing failure as a defeat to seeing it as an opportunity for growth. When you reframe your perspective, setbacks are no longer something to fear, but something to learn from. Resilient individuals understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the journey to success. Walter shares an important principle. Resilience is not about avoiding failure, but embracing it as a necessary part of the growth process. He describes failure as a fertilizer of success. Just like plants need nourishment from soil to grow, we need the lessons from failure to grow stronger, more capable, and more successful. Embracing this mindset allows you to build resilience because you start to see every failure as a chance to get better. To cultivate resilience, Walter suggests practicing self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on yourself when things don't go as planned, but negative self-talk and self-criticism only make it harder to bounce back. Instead, you should treat yourself with kindness and understanding, just as you would a friend going through tough times. Self-compassion helps you maintain a healthy perspective, recover faster, and stay motivated in the face of adversity. Another important practice for building resilience is creating a strong support system. Walter discusses the role that mentors, friends, and family can play in helping you recover from setbacks. Having people to lean on during difficult times can make a huge difference in how quickly you bounce back. These relationships provide emotional support, guidance, and encouragement, which are crucial when you're feeling defeated or uncertain. Walter also emphasizes the importance of maintaining a positive outlook during times of hardship. While it's natural to feel discouraged after a setback, resilient individuals are able to focus on the positives and maintain a sense of hope. This doesn't mean ignoring the challenges, but it means refusing to let those challenges cloud your overall perspective. Positive thinking helps to keep you motivated, helps you see potential solutions, and prevents you from spiraling into negativity. As Walter continues, he offers a practical strategy for building resilience, taking consistent, small steps towards recovery. When facing a setback, it can be overwhelming to think about everything that needs to be done to get back on track. Instead of focusing on the entire task, Walter recommends breaking it down into smaller, manageable steps. By taking one small action at a time, you slowly but surely move closer to your goals and regain your confidence. Moreover, he suggests that you celebrate small victories along the way. Each time you overcome an obstacle or achieve a small milestone, acknowledge it and reward yourself. These small wins reinforce your sense of accomplishment and provide the motivation to keep going. Another key point Walter discusses is the importance of patience in building resilience. Recovering from setbacks and overcoming adversity takes time. It's important to be patient with yourself and the process. Resilient individuals understand that growth is not instantaneous. It's a journey that requires persistence and time. One powerful exercise Walter shares is the Resilience Journal. He encourages readers to write down their thoughts and feelings whenever they face a setback. This exercise helps to externalize negative emotions, gain clarity, and create a positive narrative about your experiences. By regularly reflecting on your struggles and triumphs, you can train your mind to become more resilient over time. Walter concludes a chapter by reiterating that setbacks and failures are not obstacles to success. They are essential stepping stones. The most successful individuals are those who use adversity to fuel their growth rather than letting it define them. Resilience is the key to turning setbacks into opportunities and continuing to move forward, no matter what life throws your way. Ultimately, building resilience is about adopting the mindset that challenges are a natural part of life and that you have the strength to overcome them. It's about embracing failure, learning from it, and using it as fuel to push forward. Resilience is not something that happens overnight, but with consistent effort, patience, and self-compassion, it becomes a powerful tool that can propel you toward success. If you're ready to take control of your life, master self-discipline, and achieve your goals consistently, the Lessons in the Power of Self-Discipline by Daniel Walter are your blueprint to success. Remember, discipline beats motivation, and by implementing these strategies, you can turn your dreams into reality, no matter how tough the journey. Want more life-changing insights like this? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more detailed book summaries that give you the tools to grow, succeed, and transform your life.